Hey there folks, it's Glenn with the Cactus Atlas coming at you from northwest New Mexico, the Chaco Canyon. I'm going to be laying my head to rest here in this campground, Gallo Campground, and I'm going to give you a tour and let you know what I think. So stick around and let's check this place out. And look at this beautiful landscape, folks. Wide open, beautiful, and the way it very much looked to those that lived here over 1,000 years ago. In this very mysterious place. All right, so the first order of business as usual is let's take a look at my campsite, Site 24, and I'll show you some of the amenities you get. First thing I did is set up camp as usual, but I did get a look at some of the other campsites, so I think what I'm about to show you is very representative of the average campsite here at Gallo Campground. Every site is going to have a small fire ring with an attached grate. Do note and do come prepared though to not be able to make fires because of fire restrictions. It's the summer and I'm used to that fact here in the Southwest. Almost every campground you can't build campfires during the summer months when it's really hot and fire prone. So bring gas. You can use propane usually. That's the case here now. But don't count on the fire, especially for making food in the summertime. You're also going to get a picnic table with your campsites, and I've not seen a single campsite here that has any kind of built-in covered shade or pavilion. So you're either going to want to make do with what you got or bring your own. And so far my favorite amenity has to be these tent pads. These are gigantic. My tent is about 7 feet by 8 feet, just to give you a sense of how big of a tent you can get in here. And if you couldn't stake it, like your ropes are gonna go outside of the tent pad, that should probably be okay. And one note, the stakes went in like butter, but they're holding firm at the same time. Perfect situation. Well, on recreation.gov, the whole campsite was almost booked up. There were a few sites left and I snagged one of them about a week or two ago. But I'm not sure if there's a lot of folks coming out here. Place is pretty desolate. It might be a lonely night out here, which I don't mind. I like my privacy. And speaking of privacy, of course you could probably tell by now that's not going to be very good. Like there's my neighbor who has not yet arrived. I'm not sure if they're going to arrive, and then you could see my campsite is right next to that one, kind of sandwiched in between, because there's another campsite right there too. All right, so we're gonna do a walk around here next. We'll look at some of the other campsites, as well as some of the shared amenities here on the campground, like the restrooms and trash, things like that. Looks like they do have dumpsters spread throughout, which is kind of nice because a lot of campgrounds put the dumpsters at the entrance and you either have to haul your trash out, can't really walk it, but here, really nice, easy access, and saw other dumpsters too, right across the way over there. So this is actually super nice. They actually have one of these machines that dispenses water. I think you have to put a sensor here. Yep, look at that. And oh my God, that is ice cold. That actually is so cold it actually hurts. So built in here into this restroom facility is the sink where you can wash your dishes. All they ask is don't dump your food particles down here. Scrape off your food first before you wash your dishes, but this is really handy and nice to have. So you got your running water. Okay, and here's what the restroom facilities look like here. Full running water, flushing toilets. I think I saw a guy cleaning the toilets not that long ago. Nobody's used them yet, so they're perfectly clean. You could still see the cleaning chemicals in there. And this is the men's room, of course. And a couple of toilets and a urinal. And of course a sink with running water. And for those of you that ask me about this, yes, they do have an electrical outlet also. And here is one of the, and maybe the only accessible site, I'm not sure. This is site 11. It's completely paved. You have your fire ring built on the pavement and the picnic table, and you've got a paved path straight to the restroom facilities. And it doesn't look like this particular tent pad gets a lot of use, but just know there is a tent pad, but you could see it's a little overgrown with weeds. But it's kind of nice because they do have a little paved entryway to the tent pad too. I'm not going to go around and film every single site because they are really, I can tell you they're so similar that no matter what you pick, you're not going to be any worse off or better off than your neighbors. I haven't seen anything that really stands out. The only thing I can say is where I'm camped way back there, the benefit of that is you're up closer against the wall, nobody behind you, with some old ruins in the background. So maybe that's a selling point. It kind of was for me. I picked it because of the proximity to the ruins and the view. But other than that, yeah, you're not really going to differ too much here. But let's go take I'll look at a couple sites. So right next to the ADA compliant campsite is you're going to get into your RV camper section that have longer driveways. You could see that's a much larger driveway than the one that I showed you at my campsite earlier. And these signs like Site 12 do mention that these are RV specific sites, but I'm sure if you're tent camping, it's okay too. And these are more of the RV sites of sites 15 and 16. And you can kind of see a vehicle parked here to give you an idea of the size of vehicle. Biggest vehicle, one of the biggest vehicles we've seen back here yet. Haven't seen any Class A's today. And now we're starting to wind around onto the part of the loop that I'm camping on. And this is Site 20. And there is something kind of cool about this site that I am seeing that I like. Despite how close it is to the neighboring site right here. It is really up nice and tight against the rocks, which I kind of like. So let's go take a closer look. So I guess we could say Site 20 and my assumption is 21. That one's a little close too to those rocks, but yeah, you're right up here. Maybe you could face the door of your tent towards the rocks here, these cliffs. And hope these things don't break off and fall while you stay here. I wouldn't worry about that, to be honest, but it'll happen sometime. I was talking to a gentleman that's camping in that camper back there, and he was letting me know, even though a lot of these signs say reserved, in his experience, he was saying that a lot of people tend to reserve these, but then they're no-shows and they don't cancel, which is kind of a problem for those that want to get in here. And that might explain why there are so many vacant spots right now. It's either because it's too early or that's the case. Overall, this is a pretty small campground, probably some 20 some odd sites, I think it is. I think they used to have a section I'm gonna go explore that looked like it used to be tent camping only, but none of the sites were reservable, so I don't know if they closed off a section, but you can look around though. I mean, there's pretty good availability, it looks like, so far so good. And on this side, you've got sites 25, 26, and 27 as you round the corner back out towards the entrance. Once again, very similar. And like I said, if you want to be the closest to the ruin back there, I would recommend Site 25. I would say sites 25 and 26 have the best view of that. Maybe at the trade-off of getting some foot traffic for those that are going to go back there and check that out. We'll go back and take a look here when we explore, so we'll get back to that later. Well, there you have it. I think we answered our question here. This whole section, I think used to be tent camping only, but it looks like they closed it off because of falling rocks. And you can see there's many giant sandstone chunks of rocks that just will fall over time. Which actually that phenomenon happened on a really large scale at one of the great houses here at Chaco, which we'll talk about in a different video. So hopefully, needless to say, but if you didn't know, you don't know, Chaco Canyon's very isolated in northwest New Mexico. To even get to the park, you have to take unpaved roads, passable for passenger cars unless there's been really bad rains or weather. But for the most part, there's no general stores, there's no gas stations, there's nothing. So fuel up, make sure to plan and bring plenty of food and drinking water, everything you need, even though you have water here. Probably good to bring some for hiking and whatnot. Come prepared. So that being said, the next thing I want to do is we're going to go back to the visitor center, which is on the way to the entrance of the park. I stopped in very briefly earlier. I didn't really look at it, but number one, it's air conditioned and it is hot, trust me. Number two, maybe they do have certain amenities there that I'm not aware of, like a soda machine or something. They may not, but we're gonna go check it out and see what's available there. It's not open 24 hours though, I can tell you that. It closes about 5, I think. And it's about 3:30 now. And here is the visitor center and extra restrooms. Really the only civilization for many miles. At least that's open to us being the public. And you can see that Chaco has been designated a World Heritage Site. This is a very important place. A very unique place also, as you're gonna find out in our other episodes when we explore deeper. They do require masks again because COVID numbers are starting to go up, so let's go in. Okay, they have a really sizable museum in here with a lot to cover. So I'm gonna take a look-see here, see what we can find. Here is a model of the Great Pueblo Bonito, one of the prime attractions here, complete with its lone ponderosa pine that I heard was planted there, or grew there. I'm not even sure the story behind that. And here's a scale model of Pueblo Bonito in its current state, I think, the ruins. And the way I know that is I learned in one of the episodes we did, some of these lines will point to true north. And these lines are perfectly east-west. And I was told by a ranger that originally the only entrance into this whole thing was right here on this special wall that points true north. And archaeologists later opened up other ways to get in there, but we're gonna tour this whole thing on a different episode. It's worth its own episode, so. So I spent a lot of time building up to this trip reading books and trying to learn before I came here, so I didn't really learn too much from the visitor center that I didn't already know. But if you're not like me and you're just kind of casually visiting, then definitely stop in here so you can learn a little bit about this, because it's just, once you get into visiting the great houses, it's mind-boggling and you're gonna wanna know more about these people. They have a couple really cool signs and pointing out a few cool things here. Like, for example, there are petroglyphs here on some of these rocks, like what I assume is a horse's head. But what they're trying to communicate to you is that there's been a lot of defacing of things and a lot of graffiti and people over time that have really destroyed these petroglyphs. So today, this is what it looks like with all the garbage on it, and they're trying to portray what it would have looked like back in the day, before people came in here and made their mark. You can actually see the horse's head from here. I'll have to zoom in with my other camera, but I also do see some of the graffiti they're talking about, which is a shame. But sure enough, yeah, the mark of the ones who came before. And it's cool to think you can lay your head to rest on the same grounds that people over 1,000 years ago and then some, if you want to go way back to other cultures, lived in this area. Many of which probably slept or had structures in this area, such as the one behind my campsite. For me, there are two really compelling reasons to want to camp here. Number one, if you want ample time to explore everything this park has to offer, I can already tell if you want to do it right, you might need a few days, and camping's really your only option out here, unless you want to stay maybe a couple hours away. There are towns with hotels like Gallo, but if you want to not have to deal with the drive back and forth, gotta camp. The second thing that makes this very compelling to me is that in the short time I have been studying the Chaco culture, building up to this trip, just weeks worth of reading, not extensive lifetime research. I'm really fascinated with these people and the mysteries that are still left unsolved. So to be able to camp and lay my head down at night next to actual places where people either lived or did whatever business they did, I'm up against these north cliffs where in the wintertime these would provide nice warmth for the people here, because it does get cold up in the high desert here. But anyway, being able to camp here amongst this stuff is awesome. The sign says that these were people that lived here during the time of the great houses, probably in the later Chacoan period. and they don't know for sure what these things were. They could have been residences. They could have even been some kind of administrative offices. Nobody's really going to know for sure, but it's really interesting to surmise. And here's the other ruin. No sign explaining what this was, but likely another home built up against the cliffs for the solar warmth that the sun provides in the rocks. Right next to the campground. So if I turn around, my tent is right there, feet away from where these people likely slept. You need to respect and wonder about these cliffs because you can see how they're segmented, and you've seen it for yourself. There are areas that are closed off due to falling rocks. So sometimes I wonder, as I walk back close to these things, is today going to be a very unlucky day? Okay, so we've checked out the campground, the amenities, the surrounding area, saw some cool stuff here. So what I'm gonna do here in real time is I'm gonna put this down for a little bit, this campground episode, but we're gonna hook up a little bit later. Either gonna go for a night walk, maybe a sunrise hike, or maybe something a little bit more adventurous this time that I have in mind, but I don't wanna say yet in case I chicken out. But other than that, I'll be back here at the campground a little bit later. Okay, so right at these cliff faces here, on a very cloudy sunset, because it is about sunset right now, is Pueblo Bonito, the largest of what are known as the great houses, which were thought to be like public monuments or buildings. Nobody knows for sure, but what we do know is about 1,000 years ago, this place was at its height. And people lived here and toiled here and probably died here. I know people died here. And the rules of the game are I have a half an hour because the site closes at 9 p.m. and it's 8:30 p.m., the time of sunset. Because it's cloudy though, it's already a lot darker than you'd think. Thankfully my camera, to certain limits, picks up on the lighting a lot better, so this is a great use of this thing. And just listen to the silence. Let's go into these buildings here. I've not actually even been in here yet because I haven't filmed the other episode fully, only part of it. But look at this style of doorway. I think I've seen this before once. Like, don't the Salado build these shapes? I think Mexicans did too. Very curious. Wow. That's why I wanted to bring this in here, is to get that, to think back to the old times where they used real fires and you'd see reflections like that on these very stone walls. Oh, no way. Is that like a room you can go in? I assume so. I hope I don't regret this. I hope I don't regret this. What is this? Oh my God. This is one of the rooms with the wooden ceiling. And maybe even the original plaster, but you gotta come in here with me and see this. So those beams, I take it are original wood, probably easily 1,000 years old. There aren't many things like this, but you can really see what the inside of these places would have been like, and it's not half bad. And we're just wondering what it would have been like to be here 1,000 years ago, 1,100 years ago. Would people have been hanging out in here now? Apparently they want me to go this way. You see a lot of doors too where you have to assume that's real too and just really well preserved, but I'll have to inquire with a ranger tomorrow. That looks real from other specimens I've seen in other locations, like Tonto National Monument, for example. Oh, I've heard about this too, that when the people left here and abandoned the site, they sealed up the walls, and this is probably an example of that. I wonder why. So this right here, what I'm showing you, is my #1 recommended activity. I'm making up as I go along, but this is the prime reason why you'd want to camp here, because you wouldn't really have time to do this at this late, because after you're done, you'd have to drive out of here, and it's a long drive, maybe a couple hours to wherever you gotta go. So if you want to do this nighttime by fake fire, gotta camp. You know, I just had a really weird moment where I like to really try to close my eyes and envision my version of what I think life was like here. Don't really know what this room was, or this sequence of rooms probably stacked one on top of each other. So I'm guessing those poles that are now broken were the floor above. But the noises, maybe there were people living above you, like when you live in an apartment and you hear them stomping, and the people down here were like, gosh, I'm never gonna live in a basement apartment ever again. But people were probably settling in by this time to escape the hot. Did they tell stories? What did they do to entertaining themselves? Or just sleep? And here we go again, the low light view of Pueblo, Bonito. Much lighter than what my eyes see right now. It's starting to become difficult for me to make out the details of the structures. So, for those of you that have been here before, there are some kindred spirits out there that I've seen that I think have the same fascination that I do, that like to try to put themselves in the minds of the people of the time. Those that enjoy a little bit of creepiness. Those that have been in these very rooms alone, like I just was. I've not seen others do it at dark, but I have to tell you, it is so freaking creepy. I've had tingles in my neck the whole time. I keep feeling like there's somebody right behind me. I don't believe in that stuff, so of course then why am I getting freaked out? But if there were gonna be spirits anywhere, this is where I would expect to find them. Good morning. I'm sitting here enjoying a nice cup of coffee next to these ruins back here. I packed up my camp and I'm about to hit the road, but before I do, let me just kind of summarize what I thought about this campground. So overall, I'd grade this place pretty high. It was a nice, clean campground. The bathrooms especially, some of the cleanest I've seen, and they remain clean the whole time. So kudos to my fellow campers. It was really quiet in the evening, other than some occasional thunder. No rain ever really ended up happening, nothing significant. But my only real regret is that I wanted to set up my GoPro on a night lapse shot, because the skies out here are supposed to be amazing for looking at stars, but you could see it really never cleared up. It's been pretty much overcast since yesterday afternoon, so I wasn't able to do that, but another excuse to come back, I suppose. So if you ever want to come visit Chaco Canyon, highly recommend camping here to make the most of your time. Cheers and see you next time.